sind hier bei Bohemia Interactive und stellen Dean Hall einige Fragen zu der Arma 2 Mod DayZ, die jetzt im Winter als Standalone-Spiel rauskommen soll. So the first question would be, why do you think the game is actually so successful? What made it that?
I think one of the reasons is that people, this isn't necessarily a new or unique idea. Like, I think a lot of gamers around the world have always wanted games that really let them experiment and let them kind of play the role in design, and that's why Minecraft was very successful. Mm-hmm. And DayZ is focused on pure game design. There's no story. The graphics, they look great, but they're not like, there's not a huge focus on it. So there's a real focus on the pure design aspect of it. And I think that's what people said, they want. They want to see more of that.
Mm-hmm. And did you actually expect such sort of feedback? So with over 1 million players right now, so did you expect that?
No, I don't think anyone expected it, and it's kind of almost like been like climbing a staircase. Each step that's gone along, you keep thinking, wow, this is amazing, this is so high, this is crazy. Mm-hmm. But each time that happens, there's another milestone that we pass. So I don't think anyone expected it, and it's obviously a pleasant surprise.
It is, yes. So what do you think is special about your game, about DayZ in comparison to other survival games? I mean, there is a lot of survival games out there. So what makes your game kind of outstanding?
I think I guess the thing that really attracts people to it is, like, I really wanted a game that provoked emotional reactions in players and was all about the players' own stories. So I did that because I wanted to play a game where there was no story. Because I go to play a normal game and I get frustrated because the character is doing things that I don't want to do. Like, I guess when I play games, I want to experience something about myself and imagine, have some imagination. And so that was what I guess I set out to make a mod that allowed me to have the experiences I wanted to.
Yeah, sure.
And so DayZ creates these very emotional, compelling stories that people experience with other people, sometimes people they've never met before or don't even know. So I think that produces some very compelling experiences for people. So in a way, you could say that my game isn't what is awesome about DayZ. What is awesome is how the players use it. So how they approach and they have these amazing experiences. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. With that said, the approach of players to it, is the game really is it on purpose that it is so PvP oriented in a way, or has it has become pretty PvP oriented? You can see that on many servers.
Yeah.
And will that change in the standalone version of the game?
I think there will be more options for players. At the moment, once a player masters DayZ, the only challenging thing to do is to kill players.
So that's what most people do.
That's what they do, because that's all there is left to do. Mm-hmm. So that's where we're talking about providing the options for construction, expanding the options available for and how vehicles are repaired and created, mm-hmm. Expanding the medical system and having it so that there's more sort of specialization and more crafting and stuff like that. So there was a lot more reason to group up. I think punishing players for being a bandit is a bad idea. Like, it's the apocalypse. There's no law and order.
Yeah.
So
and then at the end of the day, it's a part of the game, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a part of the game, and that's what makes it compelling. I am personally a cooperative player. I've only ever killed one player in DayZ, and I still feel terrible about it. But I realize that I need the PvP players, because they are what gives a compelling experience. You need that threat and that fear of constant death. The fact that DayZ is very hard to stay alive is why it is so special to be alive. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Right. And so we want to keep that, but we do also want to expand the options in DayZ so that players can choose their playstyle. Like, there are many features that I'm sure some players will never use, and I want DayZ to be that kind of game where there is so much stuff in it, but you only use some parts of it because they fit your play style.
Cool. So, and once the standalone game is out, will you still take care of the mod, of the Arma 2 mod? Will it still be taken care of?
Yes, well, the approach we're taking with that is to actually release the mod to the community more. So give the community more ability to choose how they want to run their own servers, choose the number of players, so whether they want 5 players or 40 players. We want to open up even the development so that people can add new islands. Like there's a really fantastic called Lingor Island that's a community made one. So we want to open it up. We kept it very closed so that we could get a very, how can I put it, like a deliberate message out to the game industry about why DayZ worked. We've done that, so now we can open it up. I do need to make sure though that I'm focusing a lot of my effort on fixing the bugs in the game, because to fix many of the bugs in the mod is either very difficult or impossible, but it becomes much easier to do it in a standalone in the source. Yeah. So I guess the answer is yes, we will continue to develop the mod, but we will also hand a lot of that development over to the community.
Okay, thanks. And yeah, let's go over to the standalone game, to the standalone version of the game. So will it be more beginner friendly in a way? So because some people say that DayZ is very hard stuff at the beginning.
I think no, the short answer. But having said that, I think there's elements that we will definitely improve. So one of the biggest design priorities is to scrap the inventory system and redesign it from scratch. So those kinds of things will become much easier to deal with. But I think DayZ will always maintain its very brutal approach to start of gameplay, and in a way that will force players to group up and socialize, because it will be a big challenge to try and survive in the end of the world by yourself. So I think it's a bit of both. We need to make the game make sense more in terms of its inventory and its action menu systems, but we actually almost need to make the game harder to play in a way. Yeah, so it's kind of a bit of both.
And that leads directly to my next question, which will be, will there be some kind of a team-based mode or something in the standalone version?
We've always wanted to put in a group sort of faction system, so that if you want to play the game with a group of your friends, that there's some kind of support for that. But it's a very difficult one to get right, because when you respawn on the beach with nothing, it's very disorientating, and that's very important to making permadeath matter. So we are prototyping how we can approach that, but definitely we want to have a faction and group system in. Like that's something that's a key priority for us. Yeah.
Okay, cool. And are you planning on change something in the zombies or the bandits' behavior in the standalone version so that they behave different?
Yeah, well, like the zombies are something that now that we're in standalone, we can completely remove. So we are going to say, how do we want the zombies to behave? And how do we want them to behave? Because at the moment they are based on how an AI soldier would behave. So they do zigzagging and all this other. They do like a circular run in,
and they chase you wherever you go, and they never stop that.
My brother is a virologist in New Zealand, and I'm getting him to work on the science behind the zombies.
Oh, okay.
So we want to have the zombies be quite authentic. Obviously you can't go for realism really, because there's no real zombies, but
obviously,
well, maybe some, but so we will try and provide more authenticity to it, and that will influence the way zombies behave. And that's the awesome thing about going standalone, is we can actually deal with those design issues now.
And what new features will there be?
Well, the
other new features,
I guess,
aside.
Before I say what new features, the primary focus of the standalone, the initial version we will release this year, is to fix the bugs and solve the hacking issues. So I can't emphasize that enough to everyone. That is the primary number one focus of what we're doing, is to tidy the mod and polish it up. Beyond that, because we are expecting people to pay for the standalone, a small price, less than Arma 2, but still they're paying, we believe that we need to also provide some features. So one feature that I am very passionate about is providing a basic ragdoll for death animations. So I think that's really important, and that's something we're committed to. The other thing is a completely revised UI system, which I guess helps with accessibility too, and revising the inventory system, the medical system, and zombie behaviors, new animation trees, things like that. So a lot of that comes to polishing it up, making it much more of a game rather than a mod, and I think that will provide us a very good base for us to start a Minecraft style releasing new features each week.
Okay. And when will it be released? Do you have an actual date?
Not an actual date, but before the end of the year, so November, December, yeah.
Okay, and how much will it cost?
It's
less than Arma?
Yes, less than Arma, so the game, DayZ will never be a full retail price. Like, there's no reason for it to. We want as many people to play it as possible. Look, we would all like to give stuff away for free, but DayZ does need to stand on its own 2 feet in terms of money. So we will look at a very heavily discounted initial release, much like Minecraft's initial alpha. Yeah, probably around the €15 mark is what we've talked about, but we still haven't finalized a figure. Yeah.
Okay, cool. And
we need to get community feedback on that too, and see whether that is something people are comfortable with.
Yeah.
There'll probably be a collector's edition as well, and we've got some very exciting ideas of stuff we're going to provide with that I don't think other games have ever really provided. It won't be in-game content, it will be out of game.
Okay. And what are you, as a designer or producer, what are you actually looking forward the most?
I really want, there's a couple of things I really want. One of them is a clothing system. So where the clothing, every system we add to DayZ has to have an impact on you, and the world have an impact on you. So I want weather to have an effect on the player and affect what clothing you wear. So instead of it just being cosmetic, it's a survival aspect. The other bigger thing, which will come next year, is looking at how we can do construction. And one option for construction is subterranean construction, so digging out a cave. And I think that will be...
Well, that will be possible in the standalone version.
We're still only in the design phase of that. We need to do a technical analysis, but that is my preferred option. Yeah.
Oh, that sounds cool.
I would love to do it Red Faction style, destructible, like geomodification. I think if we do that, we will be adding something very special. But we can't really link that directly to the battleground, and that's why I think we would have to do it like, in Skyrim you walk up to a grate in the ground and you can go in the dungeon, and that's sort of an instant style construction underground. I think we will go for that. Yeah.
Okay, so you can't really implement that in the battleground, you said. Why not? Why is that?
The Arma world is very complex. The scene is huge, millions of polygons just in the terrain alone. If we implement it, and that's why the subterranean construction works well, if we implement it in another world, we don't have to render that, we don't have to send you updates about the hundreds of other players. We can separate you off, and that means we can be much more creative about how we implement that. Okay. But again, it's just an idea, we still need to flesh it out, and it's also not priority one. The priority one is the bug fixing and hacking. Yeah.
So if I get it right, at first you were just a modder for the game.
Yes.
And then you became the project lead for the standalone version of DayZ. And what was it like when Bohemia kind of offered you that job?
Well, I guess it was kind of a slow offer. Like initially when we talked about it, the success was still quite modest. They talked very early on about me just continuing with the mod, and then it just kept escalating slowly. So and there were also many offers from other companies and publishers and even like venture capital firms. So I guess I haven't had much time to think about it, and I just spend all my time trying to think how can we solve the current problems that we have and how can we plan for the future. Mm-hmm. So you just don't have much time to think, I guess. Probably once the project's over, I will look back and go, wow, that was really crazy. But right now, I just back to back. We've basically been crunching. I've been crunching since the mod release. Since April, I work weekends. I work weeks, and if I'm not working on the mod, I'm working on the game. If I'm not working on the game, I'm doing interviews or on Reddit or 4chan or something like that. Yeah.
That sounds pretty stressful.
Well, I don't think it's too bad, but I have to be conscious that you can't do that forever, and it doesn't leave you much time to reflect on stuff. But I think the community engagement is very important. The project will fail unless I stay and the whole development team stays completely connected through interviews as well as like on forums and stuff.
Mm-hmm. And is there any kind of a final statement you could send out to the players for DayZ, the standalone version?
Well, I guess I think with what I think the players should do is they need to approach DayZ like Minecraft. Like that's what we want to do. We think that provides customers the best value. They get a really cheap game. I know a lot of people are probably frustrated because they bought Arma 2 for like €25 and now we're asking for them to buy DayZ. But I think it's important we do that and that we let DayZ stand on its own 2 feet.
Okay, thank you very much.
Cool.
That was about it.
Awesome.